holding it.
Yeah, I think your finger might be in the way. Please enormous. Look what? Well done.
Then find that the tree.
Alright, should we open this up then? So we've had some issues with owls. I was going to say with owls, no. We've had some issues with birds lately. Firstly, blackbirds eating all my bean seedlings that I planted alongside the potatoes. And I bought this owl, which is supposedly meant to scare birds away, but it didn't work. So I bought this upgraded version, which has flappy wings. Apparently it works even better. And then we also had, maybe this will work for that as well, we had an aerial attack on the chickens, which we never normally get. We haven't had any issues with birds of prey for years, since we've had Una, I think. But yeah, we lost a chicken, one of the older ones, so it's fine. But yeah, we lost a chicken the other day. Right, how does this work then? Shouldn't be that complicated, should it? You terrifying?
Yeah.
What do you reckon? Should I put it up in the air for now? Another little side project of mine lately has been taking down the old fencing in the old goat enclosure, which was temporarily a donkey enclosure. It was very damaged by the donkey. It wasn't good fencing for a donkey. He just like rubbed up against it and pushed it, and it all got really badly damaged. The posts got wonky. I mean, I've taken most of it down now. You can only see the posts, but there's a bit left at the end to do, and it was all looking pretty much like this, you know, just broken. So yeah, it needed to come down or be redone. But actually I want to use this terrace, this little terrace here, because we've got the wood chipper behind me. That's now my chipping shed. Works really nicely, nice and shady in there. Nice place to work, and it's right by the canyons, which is what we're chipping. But yeah, we've got the shed, we've got water, put a water connection in here when we had the donkey in here. And I do want to use this terrace one day for growing something. So I need to be able to, you know, actually use it, strim, maybe rotivate in here, not have the fence and the posts making the edges hard to use, because it is really narrow, so we really need to get right up to the edge and make the most of the space. We also want to reuse the fencing, well, the posts and a little bit of the leftover fencing that we didn't use in the original job and didn't get damaged, to divide the chicken enclosure. Yeah, most of these posts were just like knocked into the ground. I think we put 2 in cement, so those ones are going to be hard to get out, but these are just wobbling. And then at the end here we have a little bit more fencing that I need to pull out, and loads of canes which have come down and also kind of crushed the fencing, so I need to get those out and chip them as well. And then we also have an olive tree in here, which never really got much attention because the donkey was always just like eating all the lower branches and the leaves, so it never really bore much fruit. So I think I can give that a little bit of a prune as well. I don't think we'll get much of it this year, but maybe next year. We've also got a tree come down up there from the terrace above. I think that's one of the khaki trees which died, and once we get the fence out of the way we can pull that down and do something with that old wood as well. After removing some of the big branches from the olive tree and taking them to the donkeys, I started taking down the remaining sections of damaged fencing. I had used rebar stakes at the bottom of the fencing to secure it to the ground, and over time they had somehow migrated deep into the soil and were really tricky to remove, but I had to try and get them all out in preparation for potentially tilling this terrace. As I cleared the fencing, I could access more of the dead cañas that had been washed along the stream and deposited in this terrace by the flooding a year and a half ago. Alright, we've just got this little corner left to do where we've got the dead tree coming over it, so I'll have to break some branches off that to be able to access. I cannot tell you how long this has taken. Just that little corner that I was doing now, which is maybe like 4 meters of fencing. I've been at it for like an hour, so you can imagine how long it's taken to do this whole area, but we're getting there. I'm not even sure how far back this terrace goes, so it'd be really good to get in there and have a look. Maybe we've got a lot more space here than we think. So I can show you some of the trees that we've got growing in here. This one with the double dentate leaves is an elm, which makes a lot of sense because the barranco is just down there, and we've got some big elms growing along in there. They love the water. We've got loads of those coming up everywhere, and then got some wild olive, not too bothered about that. Another elm. Some of these are suffering a little bit from mealybug. I think that's what those little white things are, and they cause that deformity in the leaf, but never mind. And then what we've also got growing in here is quite a lot of little, what I believe are persimmon saplings. So they must have been self-seeded from the persimmon trees that were just up there on the top terrace above, and that's a dead one there. Another one over here, and if we go in a little further, there's just quite a few, which is awesome because, as you can see, our persimmon trees, our mature ones, were not in great shape and they died, so it's great that they've left some babies. And just coming through this jungle here, look at that. Who do you think lives in there? If I had a wildlife camera, it'd be good to set it up here. It's amazing. Anyway, kind of hard to see where this terrace goes. Lots of cool trees in here, lots of canes as well. I'm not gonna disturb too much in here because it's a lovely wild area. But yeah, this is what we've pulled out of there in the last hour or so. And I think I'm gonna take a bit of a break now and chip some of that stuff up. So yeah, this is my new wood chipper, which you may have seen briefly in a previous video, and I actually bought it specifically to chip the vast amounts of caña that we have. It is one of the most lightweight models of gasoline chipper that I could find, and it works perfectly for the canes, and I'm really pleased with it. I particularly love that it is really ergonomic for me to use. Chippers I've used in the past have had the spout too high up, but this one is at just the right height for me, and it makes chipping a really easy job. I have to admit, I may have become a little obsessed with this machine over the last couple of months, and I have been down in this chipping shed quite a lot. I was also surprised by just how quickly the chipping was going, because the canes are really nice and straight and they feed nicely into the machine, and you really don't have to do any prep or fight with side branches. And in just half an hour I can make about 3 wheelbarrow fulls of chippings for the garden, whilst also doing the valuable job of keeping the invasive cañas slightly more under control. It's a win-win situation, and yeah, I love this machine. So this is where I'm getting the cañas from. I'm mostly just trying to get the dead ones, which have been knocked down by water coming through the stream when we've had like massive rain events and it's just knocked a load of them down. So now they're all just dead and dry at the bottom of the stream, so I'm trying to get those ones. And then any others that are encroaching onto our land or are just annoying me, like this one. And just with that criteria alone, I've got so much work ahead of me. Alright, so the final thing to do in the old donkey enclosure is get the last of the posts out. The ones that we've got left are proving a little bit harder to get out, so we're going to have to kind of dig them out. So Mauro is just working on that right now. Hello. You'll never guess what I found in the chicken food forest. There's 2 tiny little chicks running around.
2 what?
Tiny little chicks running around.
Where?
Like with a white hen. She must have hatched them in secret.
In the chicken food forest?
Yeah, in the main area.
Oh,
2
okay.
tiny little just hatched chicks.
Yeah, this one, the cement, we did a really good job here, but the cement is all embedded into this rock, so it's gonna be a lot of work to do by hand. I think I'm gonna bring the electric jackhammer.
So these guys, these little red spotty things, have been eating my pistachio leaves. This is not a pistachio, this is a blackberry, a thornless blackberry. There seem to be loads of them on here, so what I've been doing is going around with a bucket of water and just flicking them into the water to get them off the pistachio. But there's so many on here. If anyone has any idea how to deal with these things, apart from with a bucket of water, please let me know, because every year they absolutely decimate the pistachios and This year I've been on top of it, so it's okay, but literally every day I'm out here flicking these things into a bucket. So the garlic is just going to cure in here for a couple of weeks. There are some good sized bulbs. There are lots of not so good sized bulbs as well, but a fair amount of good sized ones. The issue, I left it too long. I should have harvested it probably like 3 weeks earlier. It just kind of slipped my mind because I was going by dates. In previous years it's been early June, so I just wasn't really thinking about it, but it's clearly beyond ready. And the issue you have when you let it go too far and dry out too much is that the bulbs start to like separate, so the cloves start to separate. So this one is looking a lot better. This was probably harvested at a better time. It still has a bit of green left on it, and you can see it's still got like its outer protective layer around the cloves, so it will store better and just be more protected from mold, damp, any kind of issue. And then the ones that have gone too far, when they're in the soil you don't really notice, but once you get them out all the cloves start to like separate, and this will probably not store so well. Anyway, I can just use these ones first. Wow, look at the cloves, the size of the cloves on that one. Some of these are actually a really good size, so yeah. Anyway, for now they're just gonna cure on this table for 2 weeks. Pretty good harvest, I'm quite happy. So the chicken that we thought got killed by the bird of prey is actually the one that had disappeared and was incubating the chicks somewhere. Don't know where. Probably outside the enclosure somewhere, but can't figure out where. Those white ones are really good at climbing. We clip all their wings now so that they don't fly over the fence, but they just like climb up it with their claws. They're very like lightweight, so they're quite agile. So yeah, we reckon she was probably outside the enclosure somewhere. It's weird that there's only 2. If it's the same white one that incubated eggs secretly a couple of years ago, then last time she hatched 11. So yeah, I don't know why there's only 2, but 2 is still cute. Anyway, it's a bit of a surprise obviously, so I'm just going to make a bit of a shelter for them, a little separate area where they can be undisturbed by all the other birds. We've also got the pond in there, and the little chicks will definitely fall in and drown at some point if we don't protect them and get them their own little space until they're a bit bigger. So I'm gonna grab some bales, put a little roof thing, we'll see. No! What? No! Oh my god, the black chick is like drowned. Literally while I was making that thing. Down here by the edge of the pond. Seriously, are you... Literally, how long did that take me? 10 minutes? Or it got trampled or something? Would a duck do that? Actually, it's not wet, so... You? There it is, down there. You. Are you to blame for this? Hmm? Okay, but yeah, that's a shame. Anyway, there's still one. He seems alright in there. With the garlic drying, the summer garden all planted, and the chickens sorted out for now, the final thing left to do is clear some enormous rocks out of the old donkey field in preparation for strimming and tilling it. It's always a bit of a bummer to undo work you've already done, but in this case I was feeling so much better about having this area tidied up and usable again in the future. I'm not sure what or when I will plant in this field, but it could be a really convenient space for growing a grain crop, which is something I would love to experiment with one day. We do have a tap down here, and this whole space could be irrigated by a sprinkler on a timer, so it could be a fairly low maintenance growing area, but I'm not going to bite off any more than I can chew at the moment. For now, I will leave it at this, and if you have any suggestions for a grain crop which might do well here for us, please let me know. I'm particularly interested in trying some kind of heritage crop like einkorn or emmer wheat, or maybe even something like teff or a hay crop. I really don't know, and I'm also not sure where to get seeds here in Spain. So any advice, if you've done this before, please send it my way. I would love to know. Anyway, I think that's it for this video, so thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.